Hey guys, Justin Neal here, host of the Average Joe Geek Show podcast, and this is our new YouTube channel. Well, not really new, but starting this year, I'm going to be doing these solo videos with you guys. And to kick it off, I'm going to be doing the 2019 Star Wars review, reviewing both The Rise of Skywalker and the now fully released Mandalorian season 1. Now, if you haven't seen either of those, I highly recommend you stop now because there's not going to be a spoiler-free review for either of them. We're going to get straight into spoilers and kind of break down the good, the bad, and well, just the good and bad. Oh, and I almost forgot. Happy New Year. Welcome to the year 2020. You know, this is a new year, and not only a new year, but a new decade for pop culture. And boy, that last decade, whew, amazing. A lot of good, a lot of disappointment, but you gotta take the good with the bad, right? And I, for one, am very excited for what's coming out this year, and what the new decade has in store for us. So, with that being said, let's get started. All right, if you're still watching, I assume that you've already watched both The Rise of Skywalker and The Mandalorian, so let's just dive right into it. All right. So I'm not sure, I might have in a past podcast episode have given my opinion on Rotten Tomatoes. Personally, I don't use Rotten Tomatoes. I only have Rotten Tomatoes up to kind of go over some things. I'm not one to look at Rotten Tomatoes and gauge whether or not I should go see a film. I know a lot of people do. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just my personal choice. I gauge my interest based on a trailer, and I know trailers can be a bit misleading, but it's the risk I take. Now, starting off, I'm just going to go ahead and give you my score. I gave The Rise of Skywalker 5 out of 10, which is considerably better than what I gave The Last Jedi. If for those who don't remember, I gave The Last Jedi a 1 out of 10. It was that bad. I did not like it at all. I thought it was a complete waste. It just didn't do anything to move the overall trilogy story arc forward. It was slow, it was uninteresting, and it just didn't really do anything. But it really did undo a lot of what The Force Awakens had set up. And that was a huge problem, not only for me, but for a bunch of other fans out there. Now, looking here at the Rotten Tomatoes for Rise of Skywalker, we saw that the critics didn't really favor it, gave it a 54%, whereas the audience, on the other hand, gave it 86%. Now, after the film's release, I still haven't gone into the tomato meter to look at the critics' reviews or the audience reviews. Personally, I don't really care. To each their own. My opinion is everyone has their own tastes when it comes to entertainment. What some may like, others may not, and vice versa. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go with the audience score here. While it was and I know it's kind of strange because I gave it such a low score, but I'm going to dive into that a little bit deeper here in a minute. The great thing about it was the pacing of the movie was a lot quicker than The Last Jedi. The main problem I had with The Last Jedi was the fact that it was just so darn slow. The pacing was just, I found myself looking at my clock, looking at my watch, wondering how much longer is this film going to go on. I was starting to get bored. It was just very boring. It was a very boring, uninteresting movie. Whereas Rise of Skywalker was a little bit quicker paced, a lot more. It was just a lot more entertaining to watch. One can make the argument, and upon further reflection, maybe it was just a little bit too quick felt a little bit too rushed. Maybe an extra 10 to 15 minutes would have helped. And that goes into my next point. Why I gave it such a low score had a lot to do with right here. The lack of explanation on how Palpatine survived, how he came back, how he resurrected. That was a huge issue for me, and that's why I dinged it pretty big in the scoring. It was a really big plot hole that needed to be told, and it was ignored completely. It was deemed clutter, according to what this article talks about. And I highly recommend you guys go over and check this out from CBR.com. It talks about how Palpatine survived isn't off topic. It is a plot hole, and it is. It's a major plot hole. And going into it, it was quoted by, in a recent interview, the Rise of Skywalker editor Marianne Brandon revealed the film originally included a little bit more information about it, what was keeping Palpatine alive, but it seemed to go off topic. However, she says, there was so much information in the film and so many characters that we wanted to have an audience concentrate on. I think we felt like we didn't want to clutter the film up with things you didn't need to know. Seriously? I think a lot of people are in agreement we needed to know this. I mean, the last time we saw Palpatine, he was falling down an energy shaft and his body was vaporized. And then on top of it, the ship he was on, the Death Star 2, was completely destroyed. That's a problem. That's a plot hole. That's a huge plot hole. And it was something that I was really hoping after seeing, all the trailers leading up to the film that they were going to explain. I'm really curious. They didn't do that. And the article goes on to say the problem with that is a reasonable explanation for the film's premise. That a key character believed dead for 3 decades is actually alive and has been secretly directing events all along isn't off topic. It is something viewers need to know, at least in broad strokes. And I agree with this. Shrugging off that information as mere clutter leaves a plot hole the size of a Death Star that's difficult to ignore. Heck, even George Lucas considered Palpatine absolutely dead. Yeah, that's a big problem with this film. I'm very disappointed with J.J. Abrams not realizing that. As a Star Wars fan himself, that's a big mistake. Cutting that out of the film. And I couldn't find the article, but there was something I saw on Facebook. It was either last week or earlier this week that talked about that they're considering re-releasing Rise of Skywalker with a director's cut, as an extended version. Guys, look, I'm getting sick of this director's cut gimmick. I want these studios to understand that runtime may matter for you. And with your pocketbook, wanting to bring in more money because you need more viewing, but for fans, if it's a decent enough film, if it's a good enough film like Endgame was, we're willing to sit through a 3-hour Star Wars film. Just make sure it's of decent quality. And I don't think that either they don't care or they just I don't know what it is, but honestly, this sucks. The fact that there was an explanation and they just cut it out of the film entirely, slap in the face to Star Wars fans. And not just Star Wars fans, but the general audience. My father, for example, he's not a huge Star Wars fan like I am, or like the hardcore fans. He's more of what you consider just an avid moviegoer. And he even asked me, how did he come back? I'm like, I have no idea. No idea how he survived. When the general audience, when just a casual moviegoer is wondering the same thing, you messed up. you needed to keep that information in there. And I'm gonna be so pissed if they end up releasing an extended cut, a director's cut. Not gonna waste my money on it. I'll wait until it comes to Disney Plus. I already have the subscription, so. But I won't be buying a hard copy of it, that's for sure. It's sad to see that. Another article I want to go over with you guys, and by the way, both of these articles that I'm sharing I'm gonna put a link in the description. That way you can read them for yourself. Really good. This one was a really good article. Moving on to Screen Rant, Star Wars canon already explained how the Emperor survived Return of the Jedi. That's a problem. Yeah, it provides information, but remember, once Disney took over Lucasfilm, all the expanded universe stuff was decanonized. Doesn't matter. Unless they specifically bring it into canon and is either shown or talked about on film, it's no longer canon. It's not. And that's another thing that'll piss me off, because I have a feeling it's gonna happen. They're either gonna release they're going to end up what they're going to do, I have this feeling, is they're going to have an explanation in one of in a comic run. You had the Darth Vader comics, which are the newer ones, which have been done the last couple of years, that are considered canon. That's going to go back and explain all this, and that's going to suck. I want to see the explanation on film. I don't want to read about it in some damn comic book. Or they're going to have it in some animated show. A new season of Clone Wars will dip into it, I'm sure. Because they're going to realize their mistake and be like, oh yeah, we kind of need to rectify this. And what sucks about the fact that they're going to put it in other source material is, I think it's lazy. I think it's just a money grab. And, that sucks, because, the casual moviegoer isn't going to go out and buy, they're not going to go out and buy the comic books. They're not going to buy the novels. They're not going to watch the shows. And so they're going to be left wondering the same thing unless they come upon an article that explains it for them. But this article is really good. It talks about how, through the expanded universe he could have survived. Theories dealing with Sly Moore. Where's that one at? This article was actually really good too. It wasn't the one I wanted to talk about originally, but it's worth a read over at Screen Rant. The one I wanted to go over is this one from Polygon, answering the biggest questions about Emperor Palpatine's return to Star Wars. And this is where it has the, more, it's not really an explanation. It frames itself to be that way, but it's really just kind of digging into the expanded universe, which is no longer canon. But what I was saying about Palpatine's assistant, Sly Moore, this bald-headed chick right here, she was literally the only female ever around Palpatine. It goes into this whole theory, and so it's this is a good one. I'll have this one in I'll have the link to this article in the description as well. It's worth a read. So moving forward, I just want to say that The Rise of Skywalker is the bookend for the sequel trilogy and for the saga in general, for the Skywalker legacy. And I'm disappointed. I think it could have ended a lot better than what we got. I don't know how it should have ended, and here's another thing too that a friend of mine brought up was, with the Emperor's return, does that mean we ever achieved balance with the Force? The whole premise stems from the fact that Anakin returning to the light side from the dark side and destroying the Emperor was supposed to bring balance to the Force. It was supposed to be the end of the Sith and supposedly the end of the Jedi, because Luke was the last Jedi. So, the main question is, with The Rise of Skywalker, did we finally achieve the balancing of the Force? And what does that even look like? What is the balancing of the Force? Does it mean the Jedi being prominent in the galaxy again, or there being neither Sith nor Jedi? As far as I can tell, Rey is still a Jedi. She trained to be a Jedi. She has her own lightsaber now. She buried Luke and Leia's in the desert, but she made her own, so she's still technically a Jedi. Yeah, it's, again, this movie has brought about more questions than it answered, and that's a problem for me. If this is going to be a bookend for the entire saga, you need to wrap everything up in a pretty bow, and this was just messy. It was just messy. Entertaining, delightful. I'll watch it again. Last Jedi I won't even bother with. And to be honest with you, Rian Johnson deserves some of the negativity, but not all of it. For me personally, because here's what you got to understand about filmmaking: there are a lot of moving parts in a movie. You got not only the direction, you have the writing and the producing and the editing. And while the director kind of oversees all of that, Kathleen Kennedy signed off on the script. She's the head of the Star Wars department. The script was just terrible. And it's just because if you look at his other film that came out last year, Knives Out, received a 97% from critics. Fresh. Audience score 92. So he's not a bad filmmaker. He just did not do a very good job with The Last Jedi. And I honestly think that the script that he had to work with was just plain garbage. It was a garbage script. I have not seen this particular movie, Knives Out, but I've heard great things about it. And I actually wouldn't mind going to go and see it. And I probably will at some point, just haven't had the time. But man, that's a stark contrast to The Last Jedi. Audience score, 43%. I'm actually surprised this isn't a lot lower, because I scored it a lot lower than that. And yet critics give it a 91%. I don't listen to the professional critics. They have no idea. I honestly think a lot of these guys are getting paid under the table to give good reviews. Why they gave Rise of Skywalker 54% is beyond me. Critics' consensus suffers from a frustrating lack of imagination, but concludes this beloved saga with a fan-focused devotion. I wouldn't go so far as to say that. Again, it raised a lot of questions and unanswered. I don't know. Can we all agree that Finn was a useless character throughout the whole trilogy? He finally did something and was a lot more useful in The Rise of Skywalker, but The Force Awakens, he spent the majority of the time just crapping his pants trying to get away from the First Order. And then Last Jedi, he was trying to get back to Rey for whatever reason. That was never really resolved, whether it was, he was in love with her or he was force sensitive and he wanted to talk to her about it. It was completely unclear. We don't know. I don't know. It was very weird. Very weird. I thought they were setting those two up to be a romantic couple or a love interest. And then you had the whole thing with Rey and Kylo Ren here in Rise of Skywalker, which was established in The Last Jedi. All very bizarre, very bizarre. Can we just please just leave romance out of Star Wars? We don't need it. I mean, it was atrocious in the prequel trilogy. The original trilogy, Han and Leia, I think was done very well. And then you have Rey and Kylo and the bromance between Finn and Poe, and just no more romance. This is why I really love Rogue One. Rogue One was done so well. It was just such a good Star Wars movie, and that Rogue One is what Star Wars should be. Just like The Mandalorian is what Star Wars should be. There is no romance. There was none of this filler crap and trying to distract from the main overarching story. And these are adventure films. Stop with the romance. We don't need it. We don't need it. Rogue One proves we don't need romance in a Star Wars movie or in a trilogy of films. We just don't need them. It's a distraction. And they're just so poorly written. It's such a big crutch. It's a writing crutch. It's laziness of, we can't think of anything else, so we're just going to have, we're just going to throw in some lovey-dovey crap just to please whoever, supposedly to please female audiences. But even Rochelle agrees. You don't need it. You don't need romance in these movies. So just no more, guys. Kathleen Kennedy, I'm talking to you. Knock off the fucking romance. All right, moving on. Oh, The Mandalorian. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I honestly, hats off to Jon Favreau. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And Dave Filoni. Those two, if more projects are headlined by those two guys, Star Wars has a bright future. They did an amazing job with this series so far. Season 1 was awesome. I enjoyed 7 of the 8 episodes. The one episode I did not like was, which one was it here? The Prisoner, episode 6. Just did not like that. You know, there was a episode of Rick and Morty. I think it was episode 3 or 4 of the new season that poked fun of heists, and it made a really good point about how heist movies, heist stories are just fucking terrible. They're lame, they're boring, they're uninteresting. And The Prisoner is that. It just wasn't, it seemed out of place for whatever reason. It was not very well written, directed, acted. Bill Burr, I love Bill Burr as a comedian. As an actor, especially as a Star Wars character actor, no, dude, your East Coast accent took me out of it, and I know he tried so hard to kind of keep it under control. Now it took me out of the whole episode. I just couldn't focus. I'm like, I'm not seeing his character. I'm just seeing Bill Burr try to act like a space person. It wasn't good. It was just kind of ugh. So just keep Bill Burr out of Star Wars, please. And the problem is his character, from as far as from what I remember of the episode, didn't die. So there's a possibility he could come back in a future episode. The gun mount on his character was really cool. Although it did seem like a bit of a ripoff from Predator. So maybe I'm going to take that back. Maybe it wasn't as cool. Definitely wasn't as original. But yeah, I mean, God, this show produced it was awesome. Pedro Pascal is an awesome actor. I love his work. I loved him in this show. I loved him in I can't think of off the top of my head some of the other films he's done. Prospect was one I recently Rochelle and I recently watched. Go watch that. It's on you can watch it on YouTube under the movies. Really well done film. That's a good sci-fi film. What's some of the other? Sorry, I'm having such a brain fart on things he's done. Oh, of course, Game of Thrones. You know, he was awesome in Game of Thrones. And I want to say he was also in. Oh, he will be in Wonder Woman 1984. Nice. I could have swore he was. I may be wrong. Yeah, he was in. Yeah, there he is. Pedro Pascal, Kingsman, The Golden Circle. He was great in that too. Played like a cowboy type of secret agent. He did a very good job in it. I really liked him in this one as well. Yeah, Pedro Pascal, you know, he's got a bright future, and I really look forward to seeing what he's going to do in future episodes of this series. But yeah, Mandalorian, well done. I love the fact that they made the child, aka Baby Yoda, and yes, fanboys, fangirls out there, we know it's not Baby Yoda, but you know what? It could be. I have this. There's a theory out there, and I'm gonna kind of agree that this could actually be a clone of Yoda, therefore making it a Baby Yoda. Just putting that out there. You watch, they go that route. And that's another thing too. Like, cloning has been established. It's canon. Why they didn't just go with the Palpatine clone theory is beyond me. You know, they had the Snoke clones in the vats. They should have just come out and said that they just did the Force essence transfer. And that one of the articles, I think it's either the Screen Rant one or the Polygon one, talks about the Force transfer. Yeah, with the essence and his in that whole thing, the transfer essence ability, and how he was kind of doing the vampire, the sucks the life from the dyad. So there you guys have it. That's my. And again, these are all just my opinions. You know, take it for what it is. I'm not trying to sway you otherwise. It's just how I feel about it. Whether you agree or not, you know, I would like to hear your guys' comments down in the comment section below. Let's have a dialogue. Let's have a dialogue so that I can talk more and bring you guys up and kind of answer, read out some of your theories. I'd like to start a dialogue, and let's keep it simple. Not simple, sorry. Keep it civil. Guys, starting this year and into the new decade, can we get past this toxic fanboy stuff? And for those who are calling the fan base toxic just for being negative and being critical, you can be a fan of something and still criticize it. I love Star Wars. I'll continue to watch Star Wars films. I'm not going to just completely give up on Star Wars just because I hated The Last Jedi, and that I wasn't as impressed with The Rise of Skywalker as I was hoping to be. But I have high hopes that they'll put out better quality stuff in the future. The Mandalorian is proof of that. There is hope out there that we'll have better quality things, and there's nothing wrong with criticizing it. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I'm a huge Batman fan, and nearly all of us agreed that George Clooney was the worst Batman, and Batman and Robin was the worst Batman film ever created, unanimously. Just garbage. It was a garbage film, and I still love Batman. I'm still going to watch Batman movies, and I'm curious to see what Robert Pattinson's going to do with the character, and we'll see. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. So yeah, that does it for this episode of the Average Joe Geek Show YouTube channel. We will be doing more of the podcast episodes this year. So for those of you wondering if the podcast is dead, no, the podcast isn't dead. I'm just branching out and giving some love to my YouTube channel that I created 4 or 5 years ago that I haven't done anything with, other than last year we did a live stream during before the premiere of Avengers Endgame. But I want to start doing some more of these, and open a dialogue, kind of interact with you guys a little bit more. So, and if you're new to this channel and you don't know about the podcast, go check it out on Spotify. We're on Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts or iTunes Podcasts, whatever the hell it's called. Google Play, Anchor, Breaker, Ball Liquor. I don't know. There's so many of them out there. We're on all of them. Just go find it. You can find it. Just Google it. Another good place, we're on SoundCloud. Or you can just go directly to our website, ajgeekshow.com. And all the episodes are up there, the SoundCloud files. So check it out. And if you guys would be so kind to like and subscribe and share with your fellow geek friends, that would be awesome. Thank you so much for your love and support. And until next time, keep calm, geek on, and may the Force be with you.